the public market, after looking at multiple sites and doing multiple studies in multiple areas, finally partnered with a major developer in town, Elephant Mark, and they won the right to redevelop the properties that are inside the loops of the Morrison Bridge. They won the right, which means they are now in negotiation with the property owner, which is Multnomah County, to figure out how to redevelop that property and do it in conjunction with another piece of real estate that's just to the west of those two loops. So the idea is that the public market would occupy inside those two loops just down the street from you guys, and that there would be some kind of major development. It could be an office building, it could be a hotel, it could be condominiums, who knows. And they're right now in the middle of negotiation. You know, the public market has been hotly debated, and until they come out on the other end of an agreement with that, and what the details of that agreement will be, we're not going to know. The thing with the public market is that it would be a nonprofit organization, so the most important thing that they needed to do, very similar to OCOM and other nonprofits, is you've got to secure a site so you can raise money. So they need to come out on the other end of a disposition agreement, just like OCOM, with the county. And after that, then they'll say, hey, now we have this amount of time to put together a public market. So we'll see. It is not anything that's absolutely sure at this time, but hopefully in the very near future, the county and Elephant Mark, the developer, will be able to come back out from the negotiation and say we have an agreement to move forward in a particular way. But that's where it would be located. And it would be on that southern end of what we had originally envisioned as redevelopment between Ringside Bridge and Morrison Bridge.
I noticed a couple of you mentioning that part of our responsibility would be to become involved and active in the community downtown. What, can you give a couple of realistic examples of what that would look like for someone like me living in the Northeast, getting on Max, going down there, putting a day in, getting on Max, coming home? And you mentioned that also. So what does getting involved look like for someone like me?
I think there are a couple of things. First of all, when you come down and you want to go out for lunch, you prioritize having lunch in the neighborhood. So that's one thing that you can all do. It's, when I walk out the door of my building, I think, where can I go in my neighborhood to support neighborhood businesses? So that's one thing you can do, and that's lunchtime businesses as well as any retailers that may be down there at the time. Another thing is, as an organization, the organization gets involved in the neighborhood and business association and supports their efforts, whatever they might be. And whether you do that as an individual or not, it really depends. But you know what? It takes a lot of people to do that, and it takes people to really understand that whole thing. So whoever gets chosen to do that, first of all, I hope somebody does. It's very interesting. There are very, very interesting people involved in that. But there's there is a revitalized business association. There is a neighborhood association, and that's a way that the organization get involved. Whether that's you or not, I do not know. I think, yeah, go ahead.
We do sit on that organization. I think both of those. I sit on those. A great way to get involved is to volunteer for some of the events we put on down there, like
right.
Under the Autumn Moon Festival. There's a discussion about a Saturday, I don't know what's going to happen with, but a night market, a Chinese
right.
market, or Asian night
right.
market. So there'll be lots of great opportunities for you to come down, even on weekends, and get involved or sit on committees that are putting festivals together and providing the rest of the community a window into your attention.
And the third way I would say is to actively try to understand this neighborhood you're moving into. It's not something that is easily understood, because I'm being honest with you. I mean, there are a lot of perceptions about Old Town Chinatown, and it's why listening to Brad and those of you who didn't grow up in Portland, Old Town Chinatown and its safety and how comfortable people feel down there, it's all a matter of your perspective. I came from Cleveland, Ohio. I'm more than comfortable in Old Town Chinatown, and I understand why people aren't. But I think we all can choose to foster negative perceptions about the neighborhood, or we can choose to better understand and foster positive attitudes about the neighborhood. So when you go home and you talk to your neighbors or your friends, and you say, yeah, I work in Old Town Chinatown. Oh my God, you work in Old Town Chinatown. Well, you know what? It's really pretty cool. That's the way that perceptions are going to start to change about that place. And they have, and we back every time there's a negative news article. But those are the ways that you can specifically participate. You don't have to move in, but those are the ways that you can actively start to be a catalyst for changes like everybody else.
One other real quick comment on Miles. We're going to be switching, Beth Hallett and I, in fact, are meeting on this in the next couple of weeks. You'll see a lot of our outreach events for students that are going to start to move to Old Town Chinatown, especially after the new year. Last year we did about 130 unique outreach events. I would anticipate probably somewhere close to, between a third and half of those after the new year being down in that neighborhood. Again, just to get us starting to assimilate and move down there. So students are really going to get a lot of experience down there, which I think is a great step. So,
Cool.
Just one additional note on activities and getting involved is going for a walk, going for a bike ride, coming down, walking through Saturday market on a weekend. The seasons really affect that community in a big way. So I don't know how many of you have gotten to see the cherry blossoms when they're out, but there's a lot. See, going along the river and going around the Esplanade is just an incredible urban experience. So I think you gotta and when you have friends and family and visitors, and bring them down and introduce them, and make people get comfortable with it. I mean, once you're down there walking around, it's pretty homey. It's pretty friendly. And where else can you buy good drugs in the city?
And here's one last thing. Think about becoming a member of the Garden. Think about becoming a member of the Oregon Nikai Legacy Center. At least go there and see the exhibits that are there. Those are other things that you can do as well. That garden is great. I have meetings in the garden. So that my membership, I got a 1+, and I do my employee reviews there, that kind of stuff. It's a wonderful place.
The urban walks, I mean, you can make a loop around Old Town and head into the Pearl, and just even in the Pearl, just make a big loop around, see all the potential development, see what it looks like before and after. And I mean, the city is a great walkable city, and Old Town is a great part of that walk.
So in terms of long-term evolution of the neighborhood, I hear that there is still a vision that involves having some kind of grocery space anchoring residences in the neighborhood and making it a really walkable neighborhood. And I hear that Wajimaya is not it in this moment.
Right.
But that vision is still there. Is that right?
It's still there. It's in that document.
Right.
Whether it's gonna, I don't want to set expectations that we're solely focusing on getting an Asian grocery store down there. We'll see what happens. We'll see what the right mix is. We're talking about how we want to. I mean, it's just like the Plan B that occurred ended up with Mercy Corps University working with medicine. We weren't able to do our Plan B. Plan A. What's our Plan B? And you know what? We're figuring that out right now. So I'm not sure exactly what it's going to be. Right now, we do consider Old Town Chinatown a food desert, which means that it is more than a half a mile from any grocery store. So if you look at where Uwajimaya was going to be, it was exactly a half a mile from Whole Foods. If the public market does happen, how does that change factors or not? So we're not really sure how that may transpire. And the block where we were going to put Uwajimaya may end up still having some level of a grocery, an Asian grocery store in it. It may. We don't know. We really don't know.
And that's currently a parking lot, is that right?
It is a huge surface parking lot.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is. And David Gold wants to make sure, he doesn't want his legacy to be a surface parking lot. So he's, right now he's put together a fabulous team to try to figure out and literally entice us to continue to keep the money together that we had for that project. something different and maybe better. And the important component of it, I'll just say briefly, is how is it, and this is what we're all thinking about right now, how can we think about that neighborhood as a reflection of Asian culture today, as opposed to historic Asian culture? So that's part of the discussion that has gone on in how we want to revitalize this Chinatown, different from other Chinatowns all over the country. So.
And on that note, it's really important to utilize existing Chinese restaurants in the areas that have been impacted greatly by the construction, by the ongoing redevelopment, as well as when the neighborhood is boomed and busted. But so it's really important that there are some stalwarts back from the days of when it was a real functioning Chinatown, and to frequent those places. I think part of our game is as we move ahead, we want to do, this is our goal is not to do this one. OCOM is a great project, and we're very proud, but that's not the end of our game. We want to, as Pete says, we want to do housing, we want to do other things, is to encourage a grocery store, is to encourage more retail, is to encourage a lot of the Chinese restaurants that moved out to 82nd to come back downtown and have a presence downtown. Also, it might be a little different than it was before, but we're going to try to, along with PDC, we're going to try and work as a team to encourage them to come back.
I think I'm going to stop it there because I know that some of you have to be somewhere at 2:30. But I would like to thank our panelists. Peter, thanks so much for taking time to be here. Again, great support. Peter, Pete, or Brad, thank you so much for being here.
I'm going to change my name to Pete.
If you have any questions, you'll be here for 2 minutes, so feel free to chat with us.